Hello and welcome everyone to Gaming in the Dark. Um, your host Magnus, and on this, I want to have conversations with you guys and play a few games while it's still, dark over here. Now, the reason I did this and did this to my set, and usually I have a much more brighter atmosphere, but wanted to change it up a little bit because I was thinking of what's an easy setup that I can do that can just have me do more live streams with minimal, requiring me to be in front of a green screen and then set up lights and everything and complicated mess. So why not just turn on a light, put it on my face, and talk with you guys? So it's been a while since I've done a proper live stream. I did like one recently where I was just playing QTE title, and that's kind of been my obsession for the past few videos. So it's been, you know, kind of something that I've been just totally attached to, the QTE title, and it's reinvigorated my love for Shenmue, and I absolutely appreciate the game and still can't help but play it, especially in this kind of like lately I feel like I'm not attracted to playing most new games that are coming out lately. I'm just sticking with Shenmue, even though I'm dying to play the new Battletoads game, which looks kind of good. So I'm excited about that. Lately, life has been pretty busy too. Just dedicating time, a lot more time to just really trying to get work done. And then I've also bought a new camera that I haven't received yet, and I have a camera channel which I talk about this stuff all the time. So I've just kind of been preparing my set to get ready to test out just new gear from that sense. But today we've got a couple of Shenmue related topics that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to play a few games in the arcade in Shenmue 3 to kind of go with that. And it should be a good time. Welcome Phantom River Stone, welcome Joseph, welcome Vector DC Inc. 2 a.m. over there, huh? Well, that's what happens at late night. It gets pretty dark. So, kicking things off, the first topic I definitely wanted to talk about, and it's actually been spread on Twitter and amongst the YouTube community, has been a tweet that was actually, and I'm looking at it right in front of me, from Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dust Golem. Now, I don't know anything or much about the history of this uh, Twitter person, but the statement that he made that has got the entire Shenmue community up in arms, like, what is he talking about, and where is he getting this from? Is this statement that he made on August 25th. He said, "Was told I can tease this." So it's almost like insider information, and anyone who cares about Shenmue and its story, there's a fun, kind of unexpected announcement coming in the next few weeks. What is that announcement? Now, there's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of especially doubt. Us in the Shenmue community, especially those that have been around for years in the Shenmue community since pretty much the launch of Shenmue in the early 2000s, we're used to getting tricked. We're used to being teased with like a forklift on a big screen or a tweet that says, "Hey, Shenmue 3, it's going to be something relevant coming up soon." And then year after year, especially in the E3 conference, we'd be thinking, "Oh man, an announcement's going to happen." And then it never would. And then by the time that E3 would roll around, it would be dead. So in 2015, when they actually announced the Kickstarter for Shenmue 3, nobody believed it. Even though there was a forklift teased earlier in that announcement, no one believed it because Yu Suzuki teasing a forklift, yeah, but it can't be Shenmue 3, and then there it was. Because we were so used to being burned. So now to have this guy, Aesthetic Gamer, teasing something for Shenmue, we're normally skeptical, right? So then he hits another tweet, and in this second tweet he says it's not a Steam release or Shenmue 3 coming to another platform, it's something new. And that was in a response to Shenmue Dojo, who told him, who responded to his original tweet and said, if this is a Steam release, then it's been known for a while. Almost like come on, you're late to the game. And anything else, and you've certainly got the attention of the Shenmue community. And I suddenly turned dark. I kind of anticipated this. Ugh, and I'm knocking my microphone around. I'm running my light on a battery, and the battery kind of died out. It's definitely gaming in the dark. But while I replace my battery for the light here, so he pretty much said that it's definitely something new that's coming, and whatever this something new is, would definitely have our attention. And whatever it was, it has to be something big, has to be something relevant. Darn, this light is not working out. Okay, I'm gonna have to say definitely really in the dark, because even the second battery is not working here. Oh well, can't plan these things. But thanks for sticking around. Anyway, so it's not a Steam release or Shenmue 3 coming to another platform. It's something new. So, you know, it can't be a new title. We can't anticipate a new title coming this soon, obviously, because you still had to rate the success of Shenmue 3 to really see, okay, how much investment can you give to Shenmue 4, really, and how relevant can you make it? So, not happening. Not happening. It's got to be something really, really relevant. Let me turn on a light here because I want to see myself. Alright, maybe it's not so dark now. But it's darker than anticipated. Here's the light that I had. Anyway, going. So, he did tweet again, slightly later, as I continue to read this story in front of me. And he said, for the record, I'm not picking up either platforms at launch, as I'm fine. On Silent Hill, it'll rear its head sooner or later. On RE8, you guys will be eating soon. But then he said, on Shenmue, what I'm teasing is smaller than Shenmue 4. So no one believed that. But bigger than a novel series. So, again, what's he talking about? What do you guys think it could be? Do you think it could be like another DLC? Do you think it could be like a Shenmue 3 remastered, like Alex mentioned? Or Shenmue on Switch? Now, I think if you're actually teasing something that seems to be relevant like that, like a Shenmue 1 or Shenmue 1 or 2 like remaster, which we all know, and I made a video on this in the past, Shenmue 1 and 2 was actually being worked on as like a full-on remaster. And that actually never came to fruition, but that was being done by outside of Yu Suzuki's team. It was more of a Sega announcement, and it never came to pass, unfortunately. And I'm still messing with this light thing, trying to get it to work. Come on. Anyway, so I actually, if you want my opinion, I think that it's going to be something related to Shenmue series in terms of if it is true. First of all, the fact that we're getting excited over it is something special, because I like getting excited over new Shenmue stuff happening, and if it's something credible, if it's something like new gameplay or some new stuff that's happening with Shenmue, it's almost unbelievable. But if it comes from Sega, now this article that I'm reading, it says that the Tokyo Game Show is going to be a virtual event at the end of Sega, at the end of September, and Gamescom is happening this week, and Sega will be there. Usually, if it's Sega related, they tend to kind of push their own first-party development items, and Shenmue itself is licensed by Sega to so that it could be developed by another outside party. So it's not really Sega that developed Shenmue 3. So anything related to Shenmue 3, I kind of doubt. Oh, finally got the light working. All right, I'm gonna turn off this light. Get the mood back. What happened? Oh, that's super bright. Hang on. I guess this battery's working a lot better. Shenmue in the dark. All right, I'm back. Sorry for that little mishap. This battery like totally died on me, but I was prepared. Just a little unprepared, but prepared. So something like either a third-party developer doing something or hosting something that's outside of Sega. It doesn't seem like Sega would be announcing anything like that coming soon. But if it's a soon announcement, and since Sega owns the Shenmue franchise, it's very possible that you can have something that is third party related to Shenmue. Like Ryo has appeared on a number of different games. He appeared in one of the NFL 2K games many years ago, and it was very hard to get him. But you could actually play as Ryo, depending. You had to follow certain rules in that game, but then he could play there. Ryo was seen in Sonic All Stars Racing, so it's pretty awesome that that is even possible. That that he can appear in another game. Now, what it could be, I don't know, but if it's something that's story related, because Aesthetic Gamers seemed to hint that it was kind of like a story related game or story related news, and it's bigger than some sort of manga or something like that, then, well, I have one of two theories. Um, it's similar to what's kind of being talked about on the chat. One is that it could be a spin-off of a Shenmue storyline that could kind of go deeper into someone else's story in the franchise. Now, I would think that if it's had a lot of development time to work, it would be deeper in someone's story that is closely related to the first two Shenmue games. Like maybe we could find out a little bit more about other characters. Maybe we could find out, like Joseph mentioned, the backstory to Ren. Maybe we could find out a little bit more about what happened with Dan Yu and how he how he rose to power in Shenmue 2 to be pretty much serving or working directly under Lan Di, which also could be interesting. You could right, you could find out what happened to Tom. Um, or something like that. It's so many different side story ideas that they can work with Yu Suzuki kind of like from a far off basis, and he can give kind of story tidbits. But due to the excitement of the Shenmue franchise, Sega can kind of develop like a smaller game to it that's different from the main storyline, and it won't interfere with the main storyline as we follow Ryo and his story. So it could just add color to that. So, or it could be a prequel. Vector DC mentioned that it could be a prequel. So, ton of stuff. So, side game, side story. It won't be like a next chapter in the story, but it could just add to the story, and that will not only help the mainline series be recognized a little bit more, especially if this side story is any good, which I don't think it will be something that's like AAA. It could be like a game that's either a small RPG or kind of like a tiered down version of a fully fledged out game, whatever that can be. So that's, or like a fighting game, for example, a fighting game that has the side story that has very specific linear path, but you're just doing the fighting game portion of it. You can develop something like that a lot quicker than a full-fledged out game, because you're really guiding the player in a linear storyline, and then you can have several characters involved in it, but make it like a virtual fighter style live, situation where you're just fighting live, and then make it like that. So that would be pretty interesting. So that's my first theory. The second theory that I have has to do with something that I spoke about previously. and this was not too long ago in one of my previous videos, and this is far fetched. Now we've all heard and we've all seen the success of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise, and the potential of it launching the Sega cinematic universe, right? Um, and one of the things that I absolutely love about this Sonic movie was that at the very beginning, it had so many different franchises from Sonic to Yakuza to Shenmue just appear right before the Sega logo came out. So it's possible in my mind that maybe perhaps they can do an animated or other type of like computer animated version of some backstory to Shenmue, which would be awesome. I would almost I would almost prefer that to a game that's a side story game because I think with a well written plot and with dynamic characters that have deep plot lines, like and it would have to be a series, not like a quick movie, because a movie would be too short to encompass this whole storyline. But like a 7 8 episode series arc, possibly put it on Netflix, make it part of Sega's storyline, I would eat it up. I would eat it up like crazy. I mean, the moment it would premiere, yes, I'd do like a launch party. So we all gotta watch. We've all got to watch at least the first episode together before we dive into all the other episodes of Shenmue. And I think Netflix is the perfect place to do that because I don't know if you've all heard, but Netflix just picked up Resident Evil, and this has been talked about a while, but they're going to do a Resident Evil series. Now, I kind of got a synopsis of how Resident Evil's going to play out. That's going to be based off of Wesker's kids coming back to Raccoon City, like, or New Raccoon City. And it seems to follow more of the movie storyline rather than the game storyline, which kind of kills it for me. But um, that in itself is kind of how the Resident Evil franchise has been treated from an entertainment perspective. They don't care. Resident Evil, the movies, were like the highest grossing video game movies of all time. So there's obviously money there. So to keep it functioning around that same storyline makes sense for them because then they could just continue to make money, and a lot of people who watched it probably haven't played the Resident Evil games but have watched the movies because they've made so much money. So they'll stick with that storyline. Me personally, as a Resident Evil fan of the games, not for it. But fine, I'll take whatever I can from Shenmue because Shenmue is Yu Suzuki's baby and he keeps that storyline very close to the chest. So since he's got this storyline all planned out, he could definitely actually develop a good series and hopefully work closely with the writers to get as much information as possible on a side story. And you put it on Netflix because thankfully with today's technology, streaming services allow different creators, different show ideas to just make an appearance because they don't have to wait for a schedule. You could just watch it whenever you want. And something like Shenmue, I mean, if you collectively add up the existing fan base right now, it might not be enough because they're going to need millions. They're going to need millions to watch a show in order to be successful. That's the norm. But if it's written well and it's a good show and it brings in martial arts action and it's just treated fairly, and there have been video game series that have been treated fairly on Netflix. The Witcher, for example, is not a bad show from what I haven't seen it, but from what I hear, The Witcher is actually pretty good. And that brings in fans from outside of that franchise. So to do that similar treatment to Shenmue that has a deep martial arts storyline, ooh, ooh, instant success for the franchise. So those are my two theories. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. I've been reading a couple comments. A Telltale style story. I think that that's possible, but um, I don't think that a Telltale style is something that will happen realistically. I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think it'll happen realistically. Um, and anyway, that's what I've got. And again, I have no idea if there's any credibility to Aesthetic Gamer, but it's interesting to, you know, see. So moving on to the next topic. I actually, and this is kind of a bit of self promotion, but I recently was on Sketchy Mary's channel, and she had me as a guest after all those QTE challenges, which was kind of cool. Sorry if I hit the mic there. I can't see, it's so dark. Which was kind of cool because at the time I had hit, well, at the time of recording this, I actually hit the QTE um, highest score, like on Twitter, and I made a video about it, which was super awesome. And she interviewed me right after we had the score. I like filmed it. She filmed it real quick, and then she edited, took time to edit it, and it turned out great. So Sketchy Mary definitely. After this video is kind of reposted, I'll post a link to the video and her channel below. This was so awesome, and so fun. Total honor. I've been a fan of hers for like years. She kind of partially inspired this channel when it comes to Shenmue, so definitely check it out. Um, Also, I feel like I must do this because, again, I had the highest score, but in that video I said, you know, challenge my high score. It was like a little bit over 1 million in QTE title. And Connor Kerr definitely hit it up, and I kind of teased him. I pretended like I had a really high score, like of over 1,600,000, because I wanted him to actually post a video of like him posting his high score. But there it is right there. His high score is 1,211,156. Do I plan to beat it, or have I beaten it? Possibly, but I'm not going to share that yet. But I will say that he did it, and I kind of baited him into that because I underhandedly, let me see if I have it here. No, I underhandedly posted a score of 1,693,347, but I totally faked it. I made it up Photoshop. But I admitted to that. I was like, because I wanted to kind of like pull him out and say, hey, I wanted to see if he could actually beat that score. But that's just me being me. So if you're watching this, definitely apologize for if I frustrated you or anything with that like fake high score that I posted. But that was totally fun, and being a part of that in the QTE title stuff was totally cool. And I'll let that go for now. So moving on, this is something that's kind of been talked about on other channels, and I wanted to kind of address it from my perspective. And it's the not QTE, the Shenmue rewards and all of the hard work that the Kickstarter project put together, and that Kickstarter team under Yu Suzuki to get all the stuff out there to everyone who donated to the Kickstarter. Um, from what I'm hearing, there have been recent like struggles with the Kickstarter, and I'll put it up on the screen here. Um, Basically, because physical rewards have been somewhat of a challenge, especially during ongoing concerns that we're dealing with right now with the virus. Like it's not even fun that they have to unfortunately work with this COVID-19 situation and try to give everyone's rewards who's waited so long to get these rewards. Now, in this post that was done in June 2020, which is a couple months ago, we're almost in September. They said that they would start shipping the physical CDs, Rio's jacket replica, and physical artwork starting from July. In August, they would ship capsule toys. And then in June, they would do the Shenmue 3 official t-shirt. Now, I don't know who's received what, or if they were even able to follow through with all of these, because obviously you'd think there are a number of changes, especially happening right now with difficult times. Um, but from what I hear, it's going to pick up again sometime in September, and they'll probably give an update as to where the physical rewards are. Me personally, I'm in no rush to rush them to risk their safety to get it. But I will say that I, in my reward tier, I was going to get the um, a print, like a color print book of like uh, all of the artwork that they designed, and I never received it at all up to this day. It's almost September, and I just attributed that to, the current situation. So that's 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 all I can say regarding in that situation. I want to thank them once again for putting out this amazing game. We're also a short time away from actually getting Shenmue 3 on Steam, which is exciting too because it hasn't been on Steam. But I personally, I did this thing where I added Shenmue 3 to my Steam and gave it a good look, because you can add whatever games you have installed on your PC that you want. So I can still go to Steam and pretty much add and then play Shenmue 3 off of Steam. But of course, your saves don't save in the Steam, I guess, servers or anything like that. So that's the difference. But it still works for me. No complaints. No complaints. And then finally, I want to just have a conversation with you guys. If you enjoyed this video, definitely let me know. I'm going to play a few of these arcade games before I sign off tonight, and thank you for joining me. And I'll talk to you guys as well. And as always, Gaming in the Dark, episode 1. Had that little light situation, but we fixed it. I'm going to have to charge that light so that it doesn't happen again next time. So, actually, let me get this. I've got, like, a work laptop right in front of me, so it kind of probably blocks some light from coming in. So, here we go. So, conversations here, left. Hey, do you guys know if Yu Suzuki has changed the storyline of Shenmue? That would be interesting if they have. I definitely think that over the years they probably could have done some modification of the storyline. I'm going to raise the volume of what I've got going on here with Shenmue as I play. Left says, for example, I think I read a theory somewhere where the final of Shenmue 2 has like a mystical side. However, some people didn't like it, so he might have changed those thoughts. There's still, I mean, I've heard that the mystical part. I'll give you my opinion on that. The kind of mystical part of Shenmue 2, that ending, caught me off guard and actually did initially kind of say, hey, wait, what happened to my serious series? It just went to kind of out there. But the more I played it, the more I wanted to know more about it. I guess it took a little bit to kind of like, for me to warm up to it. But then after I warmed up to it, I was like, you know what? I'll definitely be down to learn a little bit more about it. So then, what happened with me was, like, when I played Shenmue 3, there's a part, and spoilers spoiler alert, if you haven't played Shenmue 3, then maybe ignore me or mute me for what I'm going to say right now. But Shenmue 3 had one part where Shenhua did something that was kind of what never appeared on screen, but it was almost like it's like a mystical power that she has that you don't know yet. And that in itself made me think, whoa, there's still something going on here with her and her family that we don't know about. And that I think leads me to believe that Yu Suzuki still believes in that, or wants to incorporate that mystical aspect of the game. So, just my opinion. Couldn't help but play this QTE title. Now, I will tell you, I stink in this version because like I hit it. I'm not hitting the wrong buttons, but it's so quick to like, unless you press the button right on time, you're done. So this version of QTE title, I am definitely not scoring high. It's not happening this time. So I guess I'll play a couple more games and then definitely call it quits from there. But just one more. No, I am done. QTE Title 2, I am not the winner here. But I'll tell you this much. I absolutely love this game. This little fighter game. It is so like funny. Chobu-Chen Fighter. It's like, it reminds me of Virtual Fighter obviously, but it's like so funny. And their fighting styles are so distinct, and they're reminiscent definitely of Virtual Fighter. Boom, knocked him the hell out. I could say that I definitely kicked butt in this game. Um, One thing I also, while playing these games, I did want to talk to you about the the fact that it's been discussed, and I think it's been discussed by Yu Suzuki himself, that, uh-oh, my little alarm, hang on. Okay, sorry about that. I have an alarm that's actually for testing blood sugars. I'm diabetic, so I send an alarm at certain times, test my blood sugar. But I'm all good. I'm 130. That means everything's a-okay. I'm not losing myself here. But will I play again? I'll play one more time. So I've heard that Shenmue 4, it's been talked about that it's possibly going to be less for the fans and more to bring in general audiences. And I spoke about that in a previous um, video that I did as well, like what's going to happen with Shenmue 4 and what do I think should happen. And I totally think that it's worth it that Shenmue 4 no longer has to stick to old school, like, kind of gameplay or old school, like, familiar territory. It's good that they stuck with that for Shenmue 3 to a certain extent, because I'm glad that we were able to relive our past, relive our childhood, relive the nostalgia of Shenmue, um, relive the voice acting. The voice acting itself, in my opinion, was done this way in particular for Shenmue 3, specifically because that's the way it was done in the earlier games, and that's, in a sense, what the fans really wanted. We wanted that authentic Shenmue feel. And the only way you're going to get that is if you stick to the originals as much as possible, but improve because you're working with new hardware and a new engine. And that definitely helped. But now I think it's time for Corey Marshall and everyone else who did the voice acting for Shenmue to now show us what you can really do. You know, show us what you can really do with your voice acting. Use Suzuki, bring up your directing, make it what it needs to be to gain a larger audience. And that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think that that's what will happen, and I think that's what Yu Suzuki wants to do, because quite honestly, if you want this franchise to finish the storyline, you're going to have to definitely mature the franchise and make it, make it relevant to someone who plays like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty games all the time, because that's all that's going to happen. That's all that's going to happen. Like, if you have someone who loves the game Uncharted, for example, and they now don't have many new Uncharted games with Nathan Drake, right? But they love those type of adventure games, like I certainly do. Shenmue has the potential of not only being a franchise that adds that, but also has the ability to incorporate martial arts with it, which is what I am excited about the franchise. Imagine if it had a good engine that you can work with when it comes to martial arts fighting that really makes the training and everything pay off. such as the Virtual Fighter engine, but something a little bit more mature, um, you could have something that's really awesome. What's up, Retro Godfather? Just saw your comment. Um, but that's kind of like what I'd want to see, and that it looks like that's what's going to happen because you guarantee that you get gameplay footage that really is next level. Yu Suzuki, I've heard, hasn't played any of the Grand Theft Auto games, and maybe he shouldn't because I don't think Shenmue is anything like Grand Theft Auto. But let him, get different ideas and incorporate his own ideas because he's such an innovative designer that he can really make it next level for future generations to pick up new fans. We're all old fans, but we need some new fans out there. And that's what I think really needs to happen to have this franchise continue. And I'm going to hit on a very important topic before I close out because I know it's getting late and I don't want to bore anyone. But the most important thing I want to mention is that Shenmue in itself is a franchise that we all love, and we are happy to get a part 3. But many of us, I will say even myself included, almost wanted to kind of make Shenmue 3 be the last Shenmue. And the reason that many of us wanted it to be the last Shenmue is because we had no faith that this franchise can carry forward, or at least limited faith, right? Because we're lucky we got a part 3. Look at everything that we had to do to get a part 3. But now that it's going into part 4, there's so many fears. I mean, we're continuing on with every 4th of the month. Every 4th of every month is Shenmue 4 Day. We're definitely putting that Shenmue Day. Get the word out there. But we're so desperate to gather people to this community to make it grow. What is the largest and most successful way of making this franchise grow? It's making a damn good game that nobody can put down. That is the real secret. And that's kind of been our little, I guess, Achilles heel, is that we love this franchise so much, and we love the story. We appreciate the story and all the innovation that Shenmue still gets recognized to this day for. But the Achilles heel is when you have some people who haven't played it or who haven't been drawn to it saying, Shenmue was never really a great game. It's okay, but it's never really a great game. And then you have us react like, are you kidding me? It shouldn't be like that. There's those games that are universally loved. Where it's kind of like, yeah, it is a great game. I don't play it, but I heard it's awesome. And that's what Shenmue needs to be. It needs to be that game that is awesome. So we were fearing that, okay, it might not be an awesome, Shenmue 3 might not be that awesome, so they should have ended the franchise there because what are the chances that we'll get a Shenmue 4? But make a Shenmue game that is next level. You make a Shenmue game that no player can put down, right? No matter what your budget, because there are some games that have minuscule budgets and do fantastic. So a good game doesn't need a lot of money. It just needs to be great. It needs to be great. And I think Yu Suzuki recognizes that. And he made Shenmue 3 for the fans. So he's like, this one's for you, for helping me out, for helping fund this franchise. I'm giving this back to you. But Shenmue 4 is Yu Suzuki's game. Shenmue 4 is a game to bring the series the respect it deserves, the respect that we all know it deserves. And it hasn't gotten that from everyone yet. It's gotten that from us, but not from everyone because of that Achilles heel that I mentioned. It doesn't have the universally loved chapter. Shenmue 3 was for us. Shenmue 4 is for everyone. And that includes us. So no matter what changes he makes, or controversial changes that he might make to the style of the franchise, just understand that I believe, and at least from what I've heard, he doesn't want to make a Shenmue game. He wants to make a great game called Shenmue 4. And that's what we've got to accept and really love him for, because the story's going to continue. But if it's treated right, with basically going back to what Yu Suzuki was well known for in the late 80s and early 90s, which was innovation. Yu Suzuki was known for innovating games that people could not put down, and really looked at their arcades at the time, when arcades were popular, with Outrun and Space Harrier, and the way he thought of 3D as next generation, where everything was 2D, but he was having everything come at you, with Outrun, for example, and with Space Harrier, making it look 3D. Afterburner as well. Everything coming at you, because he thought that was the future. And then he was the first, with Virtual Fighter, to design a game, sorry, I keep hitting the mic, to design a game with polygon human characters. That eventually led to the creation of PlayStation. That eventually led to the rise of 3D gaming, to the rise of now hardware manufacturers are designing graphics cards and additions to your computer so that you can now be, next level graphics. We're looking at Shenmue today, the way it's designed. We're looking at all these other mainstream games with humans and characters that run around in these amazing worlds, thanks to the innovation of Yu Suzuki and him saying, this is the next level. He's been doing it since the 80s. And yes, there were games before that where they were doing some imitation of 3D and they were kind of messing with it. But Yu Suzuki made it happen, and made it happen with polygons, and made it happen with people, and really changed the video game industry. So he wants to go back to that. I totally believe that he wants to go back to that. And he will do it. Given the opportunity with Shenmue 4, he has to. Because if he does, then we'll get a Shenmue 4. But when we play Shenmue 4, if he's successful, we're not going to be wishing that the franchise stopped. We're going to be like, Shenmue 5, anyone? And can it come out quick? Please? Sorry, I have noise in the background. I mentioned this before, but I live close to a police station. In any case, that's the goal. We don't want it to end with Shenmue 4 because we want it to be a great game. And great games, they just don't end. They don't, because once you're successful, companies, fortunately or unfortunately, want to milk the franchise. We have, I don't know how many versions of Call of Duty. We're up to the Grand Theft Auto 5, but Grand Theft Auto 5 comes, it's like the 8th Grand Theft Auto, if I'm not mistaken, or the 10th, because there were like ones for the PSP, 3 that came out for the PSP, then there were 3 for the PlayStation 2, and then there was 1 for PlayStation 1, and then, like 8th or 9th, I'm not even counting. But the point is, successful franchises don't have to end, and that's why Shenmue 4 shouldn't be, if successful, shouldn't be the end of the franchise. That's all I have to say. I know it's already late and it's already dark, right? But that's what we're doing, gaming in the dark. I'm going to flip it up with a couple of more different games each time. Topics will be different. Always touch on Shenmue because that's the franchise to keep alive. But you guys are awesome. Lion D Bear, Vector DC, Alex, Retro Godfather, everyone who's in the chat. I'm going to see who else was commenting. Phantom Riverstone, Left, you, and everyone else watching. Huge thank you for this live stream. It's a huge honor. It's been a while, and I'm going to try to make this more regular. That's why I simplified it and made it just gaming in the dark. So as always, you can make my day if you subscribe today if you haven't already. This is Magnus, and I'm out. See you guys next live stream. Take care.